Hello and welcome to another insightful video from Be Informed, your trusted information partner. We're here to debunk myths, shatter misconceptions, and bring light to the truth. We encourage you to engage with us by subscribing and liking our videos to help us continue delivering content that matters. Today, we're tackling a topic that's often shrouded in mystery and misinformation: 10 myths and misconceptions about sex. So, brace yourselves for some myth-busting revelations. Stay tuned as we dive into the first myth. 1. Starting with the first myth, sex is just physical. Now, this is a common misconception that we need to debunk right away. Many people tend to view sex as a purely physical act, which is, quite frankly, a narrow perspective. Sure, there's a significant physical component to it, but is that all there is? Absolutely not. Sex is also an emotional and psychological experience. It's about intimacy, connection, and communication. It's about understanding your partner's desires, and them understanding yours. It's about expressing love, and sometimes, even creating life. It's about vulnerability and trust. These are not just physical aspects, are they? They're emotional, they're psychological. So, to say that sex is just physical is to overlook the rich tapestry of experiences and emotions that it encompasses. So sex isn't just physical, it's much more than that. 2. Moving on to our second myth, size matters. We've all heard it, right? This is a misconception that's been circulating around for ages. You might be surprised to learn that size is not the be-all and end-all when it comes to sexual satisfaction. Instead, what's far more important is the emotional connection between partners and communication. Yes, that's right. Talking about what feels good, what doesn't, and what you both enjoy is key. It's not a one-size-fits-all situation. Every person is different, with unique likes and dislikes. The key to a fulfilling sexual relationship lies in understanding and catering to these preferences. So instead of fixating on size, focus on building an open line of communication with your partner and fostering a deeper emotional connection. After all, sex is not just a physical act, but an emotional one too. Therefore, size isn't the only thing that matters. 3. Now, let's tackle the third myth: you can't get pregnant during your period. This is a common misconception, but it's not entirely accurate. Fertilization depends on the timing of the menstrual cycle. A woman's fertile window is usually a few days before and after ovulation, which typically occurs in the middle of the menstrual cycle. However, sperm can survive inside a woman's body for up to 5 days. So if a woman has sex towards the end of her period and ovulates soon after, there's a chance the sperm could fertilize an egg. Also, not all vaginal bleeding is a period. Sometimes women might mistake bleeding from ovulation or an irregular cycle for a period. So while the chances are lower, pregnancy during menstruation is not impossible. So yes, it is possible to get pregnant during your period. 4. Let's dive into STIs only happen to promiscuous people. This is a common misconception that needs debunking. Sexually transmitted infections, or STIs, aren't selective. They don't choose their hosts based on how many partners they've had. The truth is, anyone can contract an STI regardless of their sexual behavior. This can happen during their first sexual encounter or their 100th. The risk of contracting STIs depends on various factors, such as the use of protection, the health status of the partner, and the type of sexual activity involved. It's crucial to remember that being responsible and informed about sexual health is the best way to prevent STIs. Regular checkups and open, honest discussions with partners about sexual health are also essential. So let's bust this myth for good, shall we? STIs can happen to anyone, not just the promiscuous. 5. Halfway through, let's debunk sex should always be spontaneous. Now, spontaneous sex can be exciting and passionate, sure, but the idea that it's the only way to have meaningful sexual encounters is quite misleading. In fact, planning and communication can significantly enhance the sexual experience. It's like cooking a gourmet meal. Sure, you can throw things together on a whim, but taking the time to plan, gather the right ingredients, and execute a recipe can lead to a more satisfying feast. Moreover, planning allows for clear communication about desires, boundaries, and consent, which are all critical components of a healthy sexual relationship. It can also build anticipation, which in itself can be quite exciting. So while spontaneity can add a dash of thrill, planning can add depth and richness, making the experience more enjoyable and fulfilling for all involved. So, sex doesn't always need to be spontaneous. 6. Now, onto masturbation is unhealthy. This statement is one of the most pervasive myths out there, but let me tell you, it's far from the truth. In fact, masturbation can have several health benefits. For starters, it's a natural way to explore your body, understand what feels good to you, and improve your sexual well-being. Regular and healthy masturbation can also help improve sleep quality and reduce stress by releasing endorphins, those feel-good hormones. For women, it can even help alleviate menstrual cramps. And let's not forget that it's the safest form of sex, carrying no risk of sexually transmitted infections or unwanted pregnancies. Despite all these benefits, remember that like anything else, balance is key. Excessive masturbation, especially when it starts to interfere with daily life and responsibilities, can become an issue. Therefore, masturbation isn't unhealthy. It can actually be beneficial. 7. Let's debunk the 7th myth. Only men have sexual fantasies. This myth is as old as time, but it's about time we put it to rest. The truth is, both men and women have sexual fantasies. In fact, studies have shown that the human brain is the most powerful sex organ, and it doesn't discriminate between genders. Whether it's thinking about a romantic getaway with a partner or more explicit thoughts, both men and women use their imagination. The difference lies in how these fantasies are expressed. While men might be more vocal about their fantasies, women tend to keep theirs more private. But let's make it clear, this doesn't mean they don't exist. It's high time we recognize that sexual fantasies are a normal part of human sexuality, regardless of gender. So it's not only men, women also have sexual fantasies. 8. Next up, older people don't have sex. Now, this is a misconception that could not be further from the truth. Many older adults maintain active and fulfilling sex lives. Yes, just because someone has a few more candles on their birthday cake doesn't mean they've hung up their dancing shoes. Research indicates that a significant number of people aged 60 and above are very much engaged in intimate relationships. While the frequency might decline with age, the desire and capacity for sexual expression often remain unchanged. It's important to understand that intimacy is not just for the young and sprightly. Health, emotional closeness, and the availability of a partner are more influential in determining sexual activity in older age than the aging process itself. So the notion that older people don't have sex is just another myth that we need to bust. So age doesn't necessarily put a stop to sexual activity. 9. Now let's debunk you can't get an STI from oral sex. This is a common misconception, but it's far from the truth. The reality is, sexually transmitted infections, or STIs, can be passed on through oral sex. In fact, oral sex involves close contact and often the exchange of bodily fluids, which are two key ways STIs are transmitted. Let's take herpes, for example. This infection is caused by a virus that can be passed on when one partner has a cold sore, even if it's not visible. Gonorrhea, another STI, can also be transmitted through oral sex if one partner has the infection in their throat, genitals, or rectum. And then there's syphilis, which can be transmitted through contact with a syphilis sore during oral sex. Even human papillomavirus, or HPV, can be passed on this way. So you can indeed contract STIs from oral sex. It's always important to protect yourself and your partner by using barriers like dental dams or condoms during oral sex. 10. Finally, let's debunk sex ends when the man finishes. This one's a classic, but it's high time we retire it. It's important to note that sex is a mutual exchange of pleasure, not a race to the finish line. It's about connecting, exploring, and satisfying both partners involved. While it's true that a man's orgasm often signals the end of penetrative sex, this doesn't mean that the whole encounter should come to an abrupt halt. Many women, and indeed some men, may not have reached their peak at this point. Therefore, it's crucial to keep the communication lines open and ensure that both parties feel fulfilled and satisfied. Remember, there are many ways to achieve satisfaction beyond penetration. Don't be shy to explore these options. That could mean more foreplay, using toys, or simply taking the time to understand what your partner enjoys. So sex doesn't have to end when the man finishes. Now that we've debunked these 10 myths and misconceptions about sex, it's clear that knowledge is power. From understanding that sex isn't just physical, to dismissing the notion that size is everything, to challenging stereotypes about STIs, sexual spontaneity, masturbation, fantasies, aging, oral sex, and the finale of the act itself, we've opened up important dialogues. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and like the video. Stay informed with Be Informed, your trusted information partner.